Well, back in the 1970s and 80s, identity politics was developing around class, race, lesbianism to some extent, but not around transgenderism, because there were very, very few men transgendering at that time. At that time, men who were sexually interested in cross-dressing, mostly did so occasionally or at the weekend. They were not saying that they were women, as now so many do. That simply wasn't happening at the time. Although at the time there were a couple, really just a couple, who would try to enter women's events and conferences, nonetheless, we were so concerned about it that feminists were writing theory about transgenderism at the time, which is critical in all the same ways that radical feminists are being in the present. I can remember back in the late 1970s, we wrote a paper called Some Plans Men Have for Our Future, one of the topics of which was surrogacy, of course, but another was transgenderism. And we were actually commenting about some State Department report from America in which it was suggested that in the future there would be lots of transgenderism, and that actually real women would be prizes that particular men would be awarded, whereas other men would have relationships with men who transgendered. I know it sounds science fiction, but it was an actual State Department report sort of back in the 1970s, where obviously it was considered transgenderism would become quite a phenomenon. Now, a lot of the things that we talked about in the paper, not that one in particular, have since transpired, although it's sort of 40 years later. So we were concerned about transgenderism, but really the numbers were just one or two.